turn all of our mics off.
Welcome to the Talkin' Shed Podcast with your host, Adam Finnick, where we talk all things farm equipment. Tune in as we interview farmers, industry leaders, and talk about our own dealership story. Follow along as we talk about topics like cover crops, nutrient placement, and things that make your farm and every farm across the country different. You're listening to the Talkin' Shed Podcast, and thank you for tuning in.
Well, guys, I'm Adam Finnick.
I'm Cody Cisco.
I'm Lee Kilpatrick.
Lee, how are you today?
I'm well. How about you?
Good. We're here at the third day of the Louisville Farm Show, and we're sitting in the Salford booth. For the listeners who don't know, why don't we just jump in and tell us about your role at Salford, what you do there?
Absolutely. To my face, they call me the U.S. sales manager.
Okay.
Behind my back, I have no idea. I've been really blessed in my lifetime to continue to be engaged in the farm equipment business. I run the U.S. sales force for Salford for all of our brands, Airway, BBI, and Tillage. I'm blessed to have a solid group of full-grown men, really good people that work for me. It's a really good company to work for, and it's been amazing to watch it from a small business that I became a part of 20 years ago to now. It's been an amazing ride, and it's nothing but just an absolute blessing.
You touched on it there. When did your tenure with Salford or one of the affiliate companies start?
Okay. A little over 20 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Richard Hagler had bought a company called Barron & Brothers. It was a spreader manufacturer in Gainesville, Georgia, and he was looking for a salesman. I had known Richard previously because I worked for Motorola for a few years, and I sold him a radio system for a wheel manufacturing facility. So he had actually had experience with how I sold and how I comported myself and how I handled problems. Anytime you engage in electronics, you're going to have issues.
Oh, yeah.
It's what not if, it's when. So he hired me, and I was the first salesman, and big old world. And I decided that what I would do is build a territory and hire a guy, and then build a territory geographically. So I moved around this country and ended up with 6 really good territories, profitable, good business. And Adam, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this conversation that's really important for me to share is the myth of the self-made man is a myth.
Yeah.
For me, it is.
Yeah.
Without guys like Richard Hagler, who let me fail, who believed in me, who paid me whether I succeeded or failed, and encouraged me. That's how I got where I am.
Okay.
Not really, of course, my own effort. I mean, you got
right,
but I had the blessing of some amazing mentors.
Yeah.
To get me where I am. Fast forward, we built a good business that obviously somebody was interested in.
Yep.
And Salford acquired the company and allowed me to stay and work for them as a sales manager. It's been a wonderful transition. It was good then, and it's good now.
Right.
What's different now is I have resources and people that I never had in a smaller company.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of my story, Adam.
Yeah. So you started with BBI spreaders.
I did.
Basically. And so you were in charge of kind of building that company and selling the spreaders specifically. And today you're kind of doing the same thing, just with more products and more people.
I do.
In a way.
I do. And and they let me dabble in the product management side of it a little bit, and that's fun. And it's just it's just interesting to. I've always had a plan, and I've always had a direction. But it's kind of like being in a river, this ripping. You just got to relax. It's going to take you where it's going to take you.
Right.
You try to swim a little bit, but mostly if you just chill out and let ride.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I am in life now, is enjoying the journey, still learning to enjoy the journey.
Right. What's your opinion of the farm show so far this week?
That's an interesting question, because it's, having missed a year at Louisville, I think it's been a really good show. I think it's been one of the best shows that I've been to in a long time. If you wind the clock back 10 years, this show was like the hardest week of my life. People stacked 10 deep in the booth. You couldn't eat. It was amazing what it was. It's not like that. Right. And I don't know that it'll ever be like that again, Adam, but I've seen a pretty good resurgence of people here. Obviously a good enough set of customers. It's a good opportunity. So, it's for us, it's a hard week, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. But it's been fun, and I think we've had quality customers through here. How about you and your booth?
I feel like it's been good. We're fortunate at where we're at today that we've got product to sell for the most part. And, you keep coming to a show like this and you meet people, new people, but then the ones that you met 5 years ago, you run into them again. And you just have those relationships with people that you're going to meet them one time a year. It's going to be in a place where neither one of you live, and you're going to talk for maybe 10 minutes. And that's your relationship, and that satisfies everyone's needs. You're great friends. You would do anything for them, and they do the same thing for you, but you see them once a year for 10 minutes. And that's the farmer-vendor relationship today.
Well, there's no doubt watching you. I love the media that you're doing, and I love this medium. I love podcasts. I love conversation. It's what I listen to. 12-hour trip, listen to podcasts the whole way, and you've obviously worked hard, and relationships are important to you.
Right.
And the media that you put out, Adam, is phenomenal. And I would encourage you. You're a leader, viewed as a leader, and your family and your company is very unique, and your leaders. So I would encourage you to continue, to develop those skills and that media. A lot of people around this country know you. And look to the expertise that you guys have developed. So it's kudos to you on that.
Well, we enjoy it. I enjoy thoroughly. Like what we're doing right now is not work. This is play.
Right.
This is fun. But the thing is, no one is born with any type of knowledge. It comes from somewhere. And for me, I'm blessed with being able to talk with farmers daily from around the country. And they're the ones that we get the ideas from.
Yeah, they'll tell you. If you listen, they'll tell you what you need to do.
They'll tell you everything. And that's where the ideas come from. I had a guy a month ago say, why don't you guys deal with, at Fennig Equipment, cover crop crimpers? You have the seeders. Why don't you have products to kill it? And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And Dad was kind of already on top of it. But if you go down to our booth, sure enough, we've got a McFarland 15-foot crimper. A lot of the ideas just come from farmer feedback.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that Salford, a lot of their product innovations have came from listening to the farmer.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, man. And that's interesting. I had a guy walk in here looking for a cover crop crimper yesterday, and I've had that question very much. But absolutely, Adam. The innovations are taking I like for guys to tell me what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. We're tool designers, and we're tool builders. Tell me what you want to accomplish, and we can probably figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to my guys this morning about, you can't just do everything you want to do. You can't just, you have to let the process work, and we all have bias. And you may think that we need to build this, and I can sell 15 of them. So it's got to be scalable, product management. And Jeff Gray said something to me, of course, growing up in the South, he gave me a hockey analogy. He said, Lee, we've got to skate where the puck is going. You can't go to where we think it might be going or where we hope. We have to learn to skate. That's a little bit of a, just putting into words what you already know intuitively. Something to think about. So we have to continue to try to go where the puck is going to be.
Right.
In a lot of different directions. You're not always right. reserve the right to make a misstep, but on balance, you really, if you listen, Adam, to your point that I've made a 40-pound answer out of, if you listen, they'll tell you
right
what you need to know.
Right. So you alluded to it, you're from the South. Let's dig more into Lee himself.
Okay.
Where exactly are you from?
I grew up in Morrow, Georgia, which is a suburb on the south side of Atlanta.
Okay.
Clearly, blue collar, lots of folks, worked at the airport. My peers' mothers and fathers were, mostly blue collar, but it was a good place to grow up. Solid middle class values. My dad was a real interesting guy. He was a lawyer and a banker, but he had a love for farming. For example, he owned at one time he owned the largest grape vineyard east of the Mississippi River.
Really?
Yeah, and so we got our work. We got our work in. I remember one year the husband of the farm had quit, and we spent like a month running grapes to the farmers market in Atlanta and back. He was a beekeeper. He was a guy that was fascinated with all of those things. So he kept us plugged into the outdoors. I have a younger sister and an older brother. I have 2 children, two daughters. They are in their 20s. They live together with a German Shepherd in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yep.
They're working their first real jobs at this point, and they're learning all the neat lessons of budget and taxation. They're getting those paychecks and calling me and going, "Dad, you know how much money they took out of my check?" Yeah, baby, I do.
Yeah.
I do know.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. I've been married to the same gal for a little over 30 years.
Nice.
We met on a blind date to a University of Georgia football game.
Really?
Yes. Georgia played LSU, and the score was 35-7. So I remember every detail about that day, obviously. My sister set us up.
Okay.
She was a Delta Airlines flight attendant for 20-plus years. So just a sidebar, and one of the coolest things that it was hard then, but I look back on it now, and she was gone 3 days out of every week. So I had 2 little girls that had to eat my cooking and deal with me, but we just forged this amazing relationship that I don't think there's I wouldn't trade anything for that at this point, you know. And I was trying to make a living and, bale hay, and it would always be beautiful the 3 days she was gone, and rain when she came back home, you know, and you're trying to make ends meet. So,
well, it's the struggle that gets us to where we are today.
Absolutely,
and that allows us to look back and say how beautiful that was.
Absolutely, man. It was coal then, but it got mashed into a diamond.
Exactly.
Over time.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So, I have a BBA in finance from what was West Georgia College. Took me a good solid 5 years to crank that one out with my solid C average throughout my educational career. I was no rocket scientist. And, like I say, I've just been truly blessed to, in a lot of cases, be in the right place at the right time with the right people, that helped me to, I'll tell you a quick dumb story, but I like it. I was working for Richard Hagler, and my girls were little. I worked for him a couple of years, and I always dreamed about owning and rebuilding a big sport fish boat. So I'm sitting in my office looking at Bertrand 38s and old junky boats, and Ken said, "What are you doing, man?" I said, "I'm buying me a boat. I'm going to take it up to the farm. I'm going to rebuild it." He said, "Have you thought about college?" And I thought, "What are you talking about, man?" He said, "You have any idea what it's going to cost you to send your daughters to college?" I said, "No, don't worry about that then."
Right.
Said, "You need to do a little research." So I went home, and I did a little research, and it was like, oh my God. There is no then. We've got to start now. We're late.
Right.
So he just helped guide me through all kind of, he put me in a position to pay cash for my kids' education.
Yep.
I wasn't even thinking about that, Adam.
Right.
Claudia, that was not.
Right.
That was the first. I was buying a boat.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You're
he
gonna
saved
go
me.
fishing.
Yeah, he saved me from myself on a regular basis.
Everyone needs someone who scoops them back in, because you can have hopes and dreams and look far out, but man, it's you always got to be doing that.
Are you finding yourself at the point where you're starting to be able to do that for other people?
Yeah. I mean,
that's the fun, right?
Right. Cody, I try to steer him the right way. That's a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. But I can tell him, coming here to Louisville, I said, you need to do this. You can't do this, but be sure you do this. And so I do enjoy. We've got an intern now, Adam, who's helping us. And at first the thought of an intern was kind of scary. It's like, you're guaranteed he's not going to know anything about what you're doing, guaranteed. Mm-hmm. So, but man, being able to mold him and see him grow, just throwing him tidbits and watching him decipher it his way, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and you can tell already. I mean, he went to Fort Wayne with us.
Right.
And
this is his third farm show.
He's just retained all of this information.
Big old sponge.
And he needs to.
Right.
And
he's like 19 years old.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to watch it. And the kid's got some future.
Right.
I'm interested in your background a little bit, Cody. What's your story, bro?
So, Adam and I are cousins. So, growing up, Adam was my older brother. So, we were each other's best mans in our weddings together.
Cool.
So, we've known each other and talk each other's lingo all together all the time. Mm-hmm. And so, we deer hunt together. We did a lot of stuff growing up together. Anyway, growing up, I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up in town. But during the summer, I went and lived at his house.
Right.
And so him and I would run around together. We showed cattle together. We did all kinds of stuff together. Growing up, I had a lot of things that I wasn't really, I didn't have them quite set in my life. I wasn't in the right state of mind. Well, rolling on to that, I worked in a factory for probably 5 years. Did that for 5 years and met a girl, got married.
She's way out of his league, by the way.
And we got pregnant beforehand, and so becoming a dad, really growing up, and then you
had to fast.
Right,
it happened quick.
Yeah, it was quick. My daughter's 3 years old now, so it's crazy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then about a year ago, Adam came to me and he's like, "Hey, Dad and I want to hire you." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah."
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
He goes,
Some
"Yeah,
decisions.
we want to hire you." He's like, "The way that you and I can do things together, blah blah blah, it'll be perfect." And sure enough, I've in my first year, I've already sold a couple of tools. Just a lot of things, just building. And I grew up in a bowling center too, and that was kind of like our background as far as so my dad ran the bowling center, and so I kind of knew how to navigate people already. I knew how to talk to them, and it was just really interesting for me to how I can apply both things together, and it's really neat.
Yeah, life's like a tapestry, and there's so many experiences that I had that, I was like a kid in school, like, what do I got to learn math?
Yeah.
Well, they're all the pieces of the puzzle that the skills that you acquire at a bowling center have incredible relevance, man.
Right.
At the time you're just going through the motions sometimes, or at least I was.
Yep.
But I look back and I realized that's the path, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's the piece of cloth that I needed to finish this quilt, or however you want to put it. That experience was actually huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Vital, important. And obviously, it's who you are today. That's a cool story. So, one daughter, 3 years old.
Yep, and I got another one on the way.
There you go.
Yep.
Do you know if you're going to have a boy or a girl?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are y'all going to find out? Or are you going to roll the dice?
No, we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Paint that room, man. I couldn't stand it either.
Got to get it ready. So, yep. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so it's been good, again, seeing someone who he was fairly familiar with product.
Sure.
But, shoot, the kid sold a 31-foot 1200 2 months ago.
Nice. Well, that's important to me, man. That feeds my family, so I'm totally grateful for that.
He's not even been here a year, and now I'll tell you the real truth. It was my customer. He stole it from me. But,
we all need a setup every now and then, Adam,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I let it go. But, it's been fun, and that's, of course, we're we're growing all the time. But with the Salford group, Lee Fennig's been selling it for, I don't know, 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
I told this story in a podcast. I did one with Grandma and Grandpa yesterday.
Oh, I need to hear that. I've listened to all of them, but that one.
It's a good one. But we had a Salford meeting back home. It's probably been 2 or 3 weeks ago, where we got the best of the best customers together, Salford customers in our area, and we fed them a prime rib, and we just had a Salford meeting, and it was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Where I'm getting at with this story is we had the very first Salford customer of Fennig Equipment's there at the meeting. And I told the story in another podcast, so some people have already heard it, but Lee has not. Dad and I were out working on this guy's planter on a Saturday afternoon. At this point, our business was like, we didn't even know really if it was for real. And this guy kind of started talking about some tillage tools. This is probably like March or April. And Dad's like, yeah, we got some tools, and started talking. It was 3 hours later, that guy had purchased that tillage tool. It's a Salford 20-foot 570.
No kidding.
Yeah, he still owns it
Still
today.
owns it.
With a cover crop seeder. And I told that story at the meeting, and he chimed up and said, it's the best piece of equipment I've ever bought.
Wow.
That was
Wow,
not
that's
staged.
cool.
We
Yeah.
did not ask him
No.
to say a word. And
That
he
is
said
cool.
that. And so that's awesome. Like, to know that story, to experience
Sure.
that was sweet.
For sure.
So that's really cool. But what I was getting at, though, 5 years ago, Lee, I had no idea who you were. I had
Right.
heard of the BBI brand. This is all obviously prior to Salford purchasing them. But Salford was just Salford. But today, Salford is not really just Salford.
Oh, it's a different company.
It is. You're obviously more familiar with the transition. Salford, at the drop of a hat, became application, multiple different tillage deals. Walk me through what they were thinking and how it's built Salford to where they are today.
Well, that's a fairly interesting story. The leadership knew the cyclical nature of farm income tillage in particular,
Right.
that it had the propensity to get small at times and then get big at times, and it's really hard to flex up and down and maintain quality.
Yeah.
When you have to cut your workforce down, you're shedding talent.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to acquire. So their vision was to be the premier company in ground engagement and application, and where those two meet is kind of an interesting thing. Application done with tillage is a fairly common practice,
Right.
And what you guys have done in the cover crop business brings those two together. So there was some vision for it, but I'll tell you, Adam, that some interesting things about that I got to witness. When it happened for me, I in my mind, this was either the best thing or the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
I had no idea until we go have the experience.
Right.
Salford did a really good job of bringing those companies together and being patient, because there were 4 different cultures, 4 different operating systems, 4 different lifestyles, 4 different cultures.
Yeah.
And they didn't just come in and rip the Band-Aid off, install new management, new process. They could have. They own it. It's their prerogative, right? And I would always tell my guys that don't be confused. They can make this very, very hard.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They let, over time, the most interesting thing, Adam and Cody, is those cultures have melded real well at this point. And we're, for the most part, operating as one company. But man, they've let that be a year's process, not just overnight. So, and I know sometimes I think about what it would have been like to be on the Salford side of the fence. I would have probably been a lot more impatient with that.
Yeah.
And they weren't. Jeff, Dave King, Brad did a great job and continue to do a great job of bringing those cultures together and becoming one team, and I'd say we're there.
Yeah.
But that's the most interesting, I guess, observation for me of the process, and it helps me to be wise about the speed at which things have to happen, even inside my family with my daughters, and that it just takes time to make. If you make a 1 degree change every day, it's 365 degrees by the time the year rolls around, but it took that year to get there. So learning to be patient, and I think they've done a very good job. Again, I know that's a 40-pound answer to a 5-pound question, but I kind of like to do that, Adam. I like to hear my own voice.
Well, it's a big question, because when Salford was Salford, just the tillage brand, we were selling the Valmar cover crop seeders, and when the whole acquisition happened, for me, the Salford Valmar deal was a no-brainer. Obviously, we were mounting those things on Salfords for a long time, and then I was very unfamiliar with the BBI spreaders, and today it's a company that when you talk to people, they're fully aware of the quality that they're dealing with Salford.
Yep.
And that becomes more and more evident with me every day. They've set a standard now. How Salford has been able to survive being the different tillage tool on independent blades, that's amazing.
It really is, because it's some people it's still a lunar buggy. It's just
right.
I can't get my brain around it.
Right.
And I appreciate what you said. That means a lot to me. Salford tillage is one of the best products I've ever had the opportunity to work with. I can't think of a dissatisfied Salford tillage customer.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is, that's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
And obviously people will think, well, he's biased. Well, yeah, I am biased. Let's get that out of the way. But, it's amazing. I can't say that about other products.
Right.
And, for you guys, that was a big change when Salford bought Valmar.
Right.
You're dealing with both companies. Now you're going to deal with one. What was that like for you guys?
At first, you put up the wall. You're like, oh man, this is bad. This is terrible. They're going to change everything, and they're going to open it up to more and more dealers, and this ship has sailed. And it was some kind of disappointment. But that's the immediate feeling you always get with growth, but I tell you what, looking back, it's been great. There have been some changes that have been made, but like you said, when you're in the river, you just relax and let it take you. And everyone on the backside had a plan that I couldn't see at the time, but they had a plan, and it was a good one. And today, there's no way I would want it any other way.
Yeah.
We have worked really hard to own the market in the Valmar side, and I think we've got a team put together. We don't own the market in any way that I have a magic wand that I wave.
Right.
We own the market in the fact that Cody and I and Kevin and my dad and the sales team work really hard to become educated. We try to let the customers know how well of a product it is in our support system.
Yep.
That's huge.
On the flip side, we stock more inventory than we ever should, right? No, we've got all kinds of inventory, and that's very important. And so that's how I feel we've owned the market there. But it was at first an experience that we thought would go south.
Yeah.
But today, like you said, it's the same stuff. You just have more resources.
Right.
And I can call in. I can talk to Simon and Peter on the. If I ever have an issue with the ISO rate controller, I can talk to Paulette. I can talk to anyone and get service.
Yeah,
and
Allie's in there. I know I've talked to her multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
Justin in there in parts. It's the team behind you. We as Finnick Equipment, we can only go so far.
Right.
Without the support. But when you can pick up the phone and the Salford guys, they're going to take you to the next level.
Well, I tell you, guys, that means a lot, because that has been a huge. So one of the things that's happened at Salford is we went from a customer service team, 1 to 2 people, to a very large customer service team, and there's a lot of pain that goes along with that, and it hasn't been easy, but I'm starting to see it turn the corner.
Yeah.
When your best customers call you upset, you want to change direction.
Right.
Yep.
And sometimes you should.
Right.
Maybe most of the time you should. But when you're on the hard path, and you know where you're going, and where you're going will serve them better, you have to stay on it. And I'm starting to see that come to fruition.
Right.
That's been because all these people got to get up to speed on all these products. We want a system where any one of these 10 people can handle this. Redundancy, man. That you got one parts guy and he's out.
Yeah, what happens?
What happens then? What if he gets sick?
Yeah.
Gets hurt? There's a million different things. So I appreciate that feedback, and I hope it's moving that way.
Yeah.
Towards serving you guys. That's the point.
Yeah.
We don't. The way that it is for me is I really have 2 jobs. I have to serve my guys.
And how many?
I have 8 at this point in time. I work for them, not the other way around. I'm the facilitator. I'm the operator. I'm the one who clears the room for them. And then my other responsibilities are to guard my customers and to serve my customers, to make sure that they are taken care of. And for us, that's 2 steps. The customer is Finnig, and the customer is who Finnig sells to.
Right.
Your recipe for your success is very good, but there's one part of it that I see, and I saw it in your father the first time I met him, and it's just damn hard work.
Yeah.
He came to a sales meeting and stood up, and I told him that day, I said, I need you to send me a lock of your hair, because I'm going to clone you. Because I need about 50 of you around this country. There was no doubt in my mind when I see him and when I talk to him, he is going to be successful.
Yeah.
He might not exactly know. He has an idea. He may not know how, but he is strong determination. Strong determination.
You're telling me.
Oh my God! When every now and then we get to work out together, get up early in the morning, and he will bust my ass, man.
Yeah.
He is a strong, physically, mentally, and emotionally a strong guy, and the backbone. So when I think about it, there is no way that Finnig is not going to be successful.
Yeah.
Called me this Christmas, man, out of the blue, and this never happens to me. There's a couple things that never happen to me. Nobody ever buys me dinner, and that's like partially my fault. and none of us do probably none of us do a good enough job. He called me at Christmas just to say thank you, man. Just say Merry Christmas.
Good.
You have no idea how much that meant to me.
Yeah.
Out of all the people that I do business with, he's the one that called me, man.
Yeah.
And it's like Christmas Eve, and I'm thinking, oh boy, this is gonna be a good one here.
Yeah.
Something is, because he wouldn't call me, but that was such a wonderful blessing, man.
Yeah.
So we had a great year, and so I just really, I think the world of you and your family and the hard work, and I appreciate your business because it feeds my family. But for me, it's more than that.
Yeah.
I so much appreciate the relationship, and I so much appreciate the things that he models for me.
Right.
The hard work, the determination.
Right. Well, we're bringing a lot of our shop guys are going to be here today.
Awesome.
I don't know. I think there's 6 guys coming down. I think tonight Mom made reservations. I think she had to make it for 16.
Yeah.
That's how many Finnig teams are going to be here. But what I'm getting at there is Dad's determination and stuff. You'll be able to see a reflection of it in every one of them.
Yes.
I mean, if you're around the shop and you're there, people know when he's in the room.
Yep.
You can feel it.
Oh yeah.
And you can feel that push.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't gonna be sitting down when he walks in. Yeah. And if you are, he'll let you know that you're sitting down.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, you know, he's the snow plow and we're the snow, and but in a good way. And I saw it because I'm telling you, when I was in college, studying animal sciences,
right.
You know, right, so that I could sell Salford tools someday. He started the business when I think I was a sophomore in college.
Okay.
And at that time, when your dad jumped ship from his job he's had for 25 years, solid ground, and starts a new deal, there's questions like, is this thing even real?
Yeah.
Like what's your dad doing, you know, peddling this stuff? You know, it's just road cleaners, you know?
Yeah.
And, but to push through what he had to push through, I mean, when you're selling stuff that ain't, sure, Salford's red, but you know what I'm talking about. When I say red and green, you're the underdog every day.
You are.
You got to be 110% better than the competition. And to fight through what he did, I mean, heck, $3 corn the whole way.
Yes, sir.
The whole way.
And the world wants to crush you.
Right.
It does not want you to succeed.
Right. And so it was interesting, and for me to be able to witness that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And so when I got out of college, I had a decision to make. You know, what am I going to do, for one, and is this deal real enough for me to jump in? You know, I'm fresh out of college. At that time, I had a girlfriend who's now my wife, and is this what I'm going to lead her down to?
Right.
Or is there failure at the end?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been fun. I of course, when you live in the moment, you don't know what you're seeing until you get back. So it's fun. I've talked about that a lot in the last couple of days with some podcasts. But, yeah, you're right. Dad's got to push.
He does. And you know, one of the things that his greatest ace is your mom.
Right.
Yeah.
His greatest, you know, they travel together. They truly live their lives together.
Right.
And, you know, she's huge in all of our lives, but huge in his. And she, you know, she's just such a precious person. You know, the family there is so strong, and I know that just gives him that extra spark, that extra.
Right.
You know, we're all here wishing we were home with our wives, his wife here, and they're working together.
Right.
So I got a question for you, man.
Yeah.
And I'll preface it by, I spent a lot of time working with my dad too.
Yep.
Okay, and that was fun, but it had its moments, man.
Oh boy.
What's it like for you working with your pop?
I don't know if we have enough batteries on this thing left. The show's over here at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, I know that's a hard question. I don't want to, you know.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And as you can expect, that door can swing both ways.
Absolutely.
You know, there's certainly days where I'm like, man, I really don't want to go to work and have to deal with him today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, man.
But
I do too.
But then at the end of the day, I come home and my boys are saying, let's go to Grandpa's. Let's go to Grandpa's. It's like, not today, buddy.
Yeah, I've been with Grandpa all day.
Not today, you know?
Yeah, and you have to do it, man.
Right. But, you know, it's fun, and you know, we bounce ideas off each other like we're playing ping pong.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I'll go up to him and say, hey, why don't we do this? And he'll say, what are you thinking? There's no way we'll do it. Oh, okay, I guess that's a bad idea. But, you know, it's good. I can't imagine doing it with anyone else.
Right.
I mean, he's the first one I call when I get that big deal.
Right.
It's like when you shoot a deer, you got a guy you call.
Yeah.
When I land a deal, I call Dad, hey, I sold that in Salford.
Yeah.
Or you know, call him up. So yeah, it's fun. Don't even think for a second that there aren't times where we got to avoid each other.
Right.
There's no question. But yeah, it's good, and you know, the boys want to go over to their house, and you know, you got to be able to turn it off too.
You do.
You do. And
you do.
I've struggled with taking the boys over to their house for Christmas, whatever, and pretty soon I find myself, we're talking about what tool we need to order.
Right.
And it's
that's
like,
the hard stuff, man. It gets all into the holidays, and it's on the top of your mind.
Right.
And you know you got things you got to work out. So it's the hardest and the best job I ever had.
Right.
And we do the same thing whenever we go out to dinner with each other. We'll bring our wives and we'll sit there and talk about
it's
farm.
painful, isn't it?
We'll talk about
Sometimes.
paint. We'll talk about farm equipment. And they're like, "Are you guys done talking yet?" And it's like,
I live it though. We
Yeah.
were
We
here
all
this,
do.
this morning at 7:30.
Yeah.
And if I do
Yeah.
it over, I should have came at 6:30.
Yeah.
Because I
Exactly.
love this
I needed
show.
more time.
Right. I love this show. I love what we do, and but yeah, spending the time with Dad's fun, and it's going to be like everything. It's something I probably won't see how good it is until
100%.
you can look back. So
that's the sharing with you that my father passed away a few years ago, and I still have moments when I think I need to call my dad. I
yeah,
don't know what to do.
right,
Well, I don't get to do that anymore.
right,
So I have to think about the memories.
yeah,
What would he have done?
Right.
What would Jesus do? What would Dad have done? So yeah, it will be that way, and it will be like a mosaic of just the whole thing will be amazing for you guys as a family in the future. Be interesting. It's interesting getting old, and it's interesting watching your family get old and the changes that occur. So it'll be an important part of your life, man. It'll be huge in your mind and in your heart
yeah.
in years to come.
Yeah, I've really never known anything different. I mean, from the day I got out of college, I started selling equipment, and here we are. Granted, I talk like that was 3 decades ago. It wasn't that
Well,
long ago.
I'm sure it feels like it.
It kind of does, but there's no way I would change it, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Both of you enjoy selling, don't you?
"Oh yeah,
What do you like about selling?
Well, we talk about that a lot, and selling isn't really that shiny thing. It's the people. It's the
Absolutely.
people. I ran into a guy last night, right when the show was getting ready to end, that I have to admit I almost forgot about the guy.
Yeah.
I've sold some things to him in the past, and the greatest guy in the world, and he came up to me and shook my hand, and I instantly recognized him. I'm like, man, I almost forgot about you. I didn't tell him that.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, thank you for making my day.
Reminding me.
And it's those people you meet. And for me, I love going to the farm, their farm. I want to see their operation.
What do you like about that?
Oh, if I had my choice, starting when it gets 50 degrees in Ohio,
Yeah.
I would be on the road visiting farms, because no operation is the same.
That's so true. It's amazing, isn't it?
And every operation has got something that they need to change. And that's my job, is to
Yes.
help them find the solution to their problem. And every one of them has a problem. I don't care what equipment they got, they have a problem. And it's my job to help fix it. And like I said earlier, I'm blessed to talk to hundreds of farmers. And I don't know all the answers. I just know where to find
Yeah,
them.
you don't need to.
Right.
Right? I just need to know what your pain is.
Right.
right."
And
Because we're selling solutions.
Right.
Right? We're not, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's
I-
spot on.
I love it when a guy calls me. You can hear it in their voice. They've got a problem. They're frustrated. They've already searched the internet, and they're just calling us because they found our number.
Yep.
And they say, I need this. And I'm like, I can help you with that. And they about fall over.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get the shock from guys even today when they call our phone number on Tractor House and they don't get a recording. I answer and I say, Fenny, or hello, this is Adam.
They're almost startled.
They
It
do.
takes them a minute to.
Yeah, I need to talk to someone in sales. Yeah, this is Adam.
Yeah,
How can I help you?
you?
They're like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
And it blows them away. It almost
Yeah.
ruins the conversation in a way. But that's what I love about it. It's the people.
Yeah.
Helping the people.
Yep. And the satisfactory of whenever they call you after your product has worked for them.
That's where
and
it's
they,
at,
and they
Cody.
they sit there and they tell you, they say, you know what? You made me $1 million this year. You want to know why? Because you told me to buy that thing
Yep.
and it helped.
Right.
And getting that satisfactory out of them, that means the most to me, because like he said, we're selling solutions. I don't want to just sell them a product. I want to make sure it works,
Right.
because I don't want to hear the wrath from it either.
Yeah.
And once that we can get that satisfactory and we build the relationships that we do, I mean, it's substantial what we can do with each other.
That's very cool. I spend a lot of time thinking about this and talking about this and making sure that my guys are thinking about who they are.
Yeah.
Because the world wants you to think that you're a used car salesman.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
And you need to decide who you are.
Yeah.
And I am nothing wrong with being a used car salesman, but
Right.
it's just the stick of a guy that'll just sell you whatever. That's
Exactly.
That's the last thing I want to do. And there's a lot of people that have had to say, these products are just not right for you. This is not going to accomplish. Now, God, I will sell it to you.
Right.
But let's make sure that we have a clear understanding that this is not going to solve your problem.
Right.
Right.
It's not going to do it. But to Cody's point, man, when you can sell something righteously,
Yeah.
meeting a need, solving a problem, that's the exciting stuff, man.
Yep.
That makes you valuable. And when you're selling like that, you're running the top floor. You're not scraping the bottom. So,
Exactly.
sales is a righteous way to make a living.
Yeah.
And anything can be done improperly. And sales has it just has an interesting connotation to people. And I tell my guys, how do you view yourself? It's very important because you can't project an image that you don't believe.
Exactly.
Somewhere between the master of all space and time and an idiot, somewhere in there is where you are. And work to sell solutions and work to view yourself and do valuable things for people. And if you can't, go do something else.
Yep.
If you find yourself in a place where you're, like for me, I don't think I could ever sell envelopes, commodities, I just can't.
Yeah.
I can put some value on that, but the only value is a steak dinner or some other ancillary doesn't really.
Right.
Thank God we're all made different because somebody's got to sell the envelopes, right?
Exactly.
But it just doesn't need to be me. I'm not going to be good at that, and nor will it be any of you.
Right.
It's solutions, man.
Yeah. Yeah, because, we're just little fish in a big sea, and if you just look around at the farm show today, how many choices do these guys have today?
Oh, Lord.
And,
Oh, Lord.
And for them to pick you as the choice, you sell it to them, successfully put that product to work on their farm, and then they tell you that they love the product.
Greatest thing in the world, man.
Man.
That puts value in your life, right? It tells me I'm doing valuable work.
Right.
And that I'm doing the good things for people.
Right.
I love that.
And that's what we got out of the guy that bought the first one.
Right.
That's so true.
Yeah.
He said it's
So
the best
true.
tool I ever bought.
Yeah.
Best tool I ever bought. And that
Decade
meant the
later.
world to Gary.
Yeah, and it should, man.
Yeah.
And it should. And we've got to continue to build tools like that at Salford.
Absolutely.
Cannot rest for a moment.
Yeah.
We've got to continue to. Salford, I don't believe Salford is ever going to build the cheap thing. A lot of people tell you, well, if you had a spreader that was $10,000 and blah blah blah, and I love this tool, but I'm never going to advocate that as a product management strategy. Let's you call it low-hanging fruit, you can call it whatever you want. I call it junk.
Right.
And I don't want to be in that world. So
Absolutely.
I think that, and the brands that Salford brought together, their cultures were different except for that one thing, that they all quality of product was very important to them. And and Salford as a company has improved every brand they have bought significantly.
Yes.
In all ways.
Yes.
Fit and finish, marketing, representation, you name it. They have done a phenomenal job of bringing companies like the one I work for into the fold, slowly Salfordizing them and bringing the quality up. We've got a long way to go too.
Right.
And one of the things I realized in life is there's no destination. It's just the journey, man.
Right.
I always thought I would get somewhere. I'm not getting anywhere, man. I'm not getting out alive. I'm just going.
Right.
I'm going,
Yep.
And I don't think that we will ever compromise and build cheap things.
Right.
And that's one of my favorite things about Salford.
Well, and that's good because a lot of people know Salford as the high quality one.
Yep.
And us being one of them. So
Be careful. We all have to be careful about the temptation.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Something that somebody wants to buy doesn't necessarily mean I want to sell it.
Right.
So it's interesting, man.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah. You with your BBI background, why don't we talk about the BBIs specifically.
Okay.
You know, obviously, more than anyone on the BBIs.
I don't know about that.
How many spreaders are at this show?
In terms of competition, this is a choked up market.
I mean, we're obviously this is incorrect, but we're dumping product out the back of a hopper on some spinny things that are hydraulically driven.
Yeah.
Why in the world do I need the Liberty or the Magnus?
Oh yeah, these are great questions, man. I suspect there's between 8 and 10 spreader manufacturers here. There's a couple of manufacturers here who still use some. The answer to your question is the pattern. There are many, many other reasons, quality reasons. I could take you from front to back on any model and show you 50 different small things, tie downs, bolt down hopper, all these little details. So that's part of it. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that a broadcast applicator does is broadcast well. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. If it looked like the space shuttle, if it did a good job. So one of the things that we have always done is focus on our pattern. Lots of small details. Our chains are better. Our hitches are better. Our frames on our pull types are larger. There's more cross members on our hopper. I can go on and on about little things, but they don't do anything to make the fertilizer fly better. They just make a better product. So separate it into two pieces.
I see.
All the little product features, all the little things, but then what are we doing for a pattern? And Salford BBI spreaders I would put up against anybody's machine in the world in terms of pattern. Ease of pattern and the ability to pattern. The ability to throw a swath and drive on that interval. For example, if we're throwing 80 feet, I'm driving on 80 feet. I'm not driving on 60. That's the greatest competitive advantage that we have, Adam, is that if you ask people, they will say, well, I throw 80, but I have to drive on 60 to get. Well, that's simple math, man. You know, you're somewhere 40% more efficient. And then you look at the technology we've been able to develop, 120 feet, 36 meter swath. We've sold bukus of those machines, and there's still people that will walk here and say, I can't even get my brain around it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you can get your brain around it, man. I can show it to you, you know. The efficiency of that swath is, I try to keep my mind there and learning the efficiencies of size, of scale, of what fits what form. So to me, it's pattern, brother, and it's in our endurance, it's in our organic line, it's in our Magnus spread. It's focusing on that, and really back in the day, myself and a guy named Steve Owenby, he would just bend up a bunch of different fins, funky fins in the winter, just different ideas, and we'd just go out and try them.
Really?
Yeah, and you know, people want to point to the thing that makes it do this. I really can't, because it's about 8 different things. You know, the Magnus spread system is like 6 different geometry changes but all it is a couple of rednecks bending metal, trying ideas.
Right.
You know, we put fins on backwards. We C-shaped fins. You know, nothing was too crazy. So that's the pattern, brother. The pattern.
Isn't that the background of every product, though? A couple of rednecks bending.
Oh, I think so. From a farm perspective, absolutely, man.
I think we could go to John Deere, and if we dug deep enough, that's probably about where it started.
It was. It was one guy. The brand has really done well, and I've had such good. I've got to sell good products because I got good people that gave me products to sell, and so yeah, out of all those manufacturers, it was back to selling. The real magic there is finding out of all that stuff. You know, I can show up and throw up, but what matters to you as a customer? If your experience has been about suspensions, then we need to spend our time talking about suspensions, because that's where you got the burn or whatever. What's different about mine? Out of those 50 features, there's one that matters to you. Can I figure it out?
Yeah.
Can I? interrogate you well enough to understand what's going to matter to you and present it to you.
Right.
And back to the early comment you made, most of those innovations were taught to us by farmers.
Yeah.
That, I had a couple of cross members crack out. If you guys would add 3 or 4 more cross members, the rigidity, look at it, it's $6. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
So those features really were brought about by a customer and some pain too.
Yeah.
Not everything that you do is perfect, and you learn and you change.
Right.
If you've made a decision, you can unmake a decision.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For us, I had never known a BBI spreader until, I don't know. I looked at my first one maybe 4 years ago, and I thought, I don't know about all this. And anyways, what I'm getting at, in the last 6 months, I have learned more about spreaders than I had in the prior year. And sure, I've been to some really good trainings and all that, but what I learned was through selling. Guys would call, and I quit passing off the leads, and I said, you know what, I'm going to learn it myself. And he said, well, what's the difference between a Liberty and a Magna spread? I'm like, well, Liberty spelled with 6 letters. One's big, one's small. But no, you just dig into it and you learn. But talking to these customers, they have choices like we
They
talked.
do.
And I've sold a lot of spreaders recently, and they're drawn to the pattern. They look at the spreader and they say, wow, that's a nice spreader. Whether or not they really know exactly what makes it a nice spreader. But man, BBI is a sweet product, and I've told Dad this several times in the last 2 months. We're going to do with BBI what we've already done with Valtra.
100%.
And I've told Dad, hang on, because we're getting ready to do it. Yeah.
Well, and I know you will, and I know that you have the right product. Truth is, Adam and Cody, that most people that sell don't really know their products.
Right.
It doesn't take that much to be above average.
Right.
If you know your products inside and out, you'll win the vast majority of sales opportunities, man.
Right.
You know what they do, and it just takes time, doesn't it?
Yep.
And experience.
Yeah.
To really get through it and to learn. That's really cool, and I know that you guys are going to do great things with it. And you will. The thing that you will do is you will become the authority on it.
Yeah.
The expert.
When a guy can come to you and say, Adam, I need a trooper, and when I can interrogate the guy and I can look him in the eye and confidently say, no, you don't.
No. What makes you think you want a trooper?
Right.
What?
You need a Liberty.
Yeah.
And they said, well, what do you mean? I did my research. I think I need a trooper. And I said, well, I agree with you, sir, but I've sold some troopers to some guys that actually maybe need the Liberty. And when you can confidently steer them in that direction,
absolutely,
man,
absolutely, you win. You win just about every time. I mean, we have a sales process that to me is very important in this trade show booth. Is that the first question we get asked is, how much is that?
Right.
Well, do you know what it is? I mean, we don't take that bait.
Right.
It's 10, 15 minutes before we get there, if we get there at all.
Right.
It's not just, interrogate the generalities.
Right.
You think about a good Christmas present. The three of us had 3 completely different ideas about what that is.
Yeah.
But we think we're talking about the same thing, and we're not.
Right.
We're not, The generalities, man, you got to dig into them, and that's been part of the success of that brand, is truly trying to understand, not just show up, throw up, but try to understand what you're trying to accomplish. My favorite saying for my guys is prescription without consultation is malpractice.
Yes.
What do you want to engage in?
Yes.
So do the job, do that part of the job, the hard part. Guy wants to write you a check, it's easy to, I want to take that check, but until we know that we're delivering the right medicine, we should never take that check.
You are the sales territory guy for the United States.
Yes.
You oversee 8 guys in sales. That's a lot. What makes you a good fit for that? And what pain points do you have in doing that?
I think
I know what makes you good for it, but I want to hear yours.
One of my favorite topics is leadership, and it's because I've never felt like I was a very good leader, but I felt like it was all problems are leadership problems. And so I study leadership hard from a lot of perspectives. And I love things like extreme ownership. Jocko Willink is, that stuff really speaks to me. Kind of a soft-hearted guy. I can be tough, but it's not really my nature. My nature is to help my guys. And I think that because I had the experience of building this business and learning leadership and learning sales and forming my own, I have a pretty good platform to help them out. I've done their job. I've done their job in a different way. I've gone into states in this country that had no idea who BBI was and built a book of business that allowed me to hire a guy in. I built 6 different territories around the country like that. And it was an amazing experience. I think those things, Adam, really set me in line to be able to serve my guys and do a good job for them. And I'm constantly having to relearn my job. I'm constantly looking at my process. I'm at a place now where a lot of my organizational processes that I have are not really working very well for me. The volume of stuff that I'm handling, so I got to retool, man.
Yeah.
I got to relearn. I got to seek, and I've never been afraid to steal a good idea.
Yeah.
Most of what I know, I'm modeling. I'm not breaking trail. Yeah. I'm in somebody else's trail, and that's be humble. So I guess my answer is I really don't know what makes me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love your enthusiasm, your leadership, and you look at things from a little bit of a broader view, in my opinion. And I think that's what you need to lead guys who have boots on the ground under. Mm-hmm. You have experience and knowledge of the product that's unmatched. Mm-hmm. We can talk to a lot of sales leaders, in my opinion, that sure, they know some tactics and some stuff, but when you can talk product too, it's game over.
Yeah, I'm big about that. There's a lot of situations, and we've had a couple where it was advocated that what we need is just a guy who's been a successful sales manager somewhere. It doesn't matter what he was managing. I don't think that's true.
No.
I don't think that's true. I don't think you can bring a guy, and maybe you can, but on balance, that's not a good recipe, because he can't help you in the space that's most important. And I tell you, I read a book last month called The Men, the Mission, and Me. A guy named Peter Blader, who's a Green Beret, amazing book, and he has 5 lessons in that book. But the one thing that I really took away from it is listen to the guy on the ground.
Yes.
Listen to the guy on the ground and form your, make that the top piece of intel. Make that the thing that, and I think I've kind of always done that, but it really woke me up to the fact that is really important, man.
Right.
My guys are, they're head down.
Right.
What are they seeing? What do they need? It's easy to push things out. Yeah. Everybody got to get this spreadsheet done, and no, man. What I sometimes have tasks that I will do that should be pushed out to them, but I'll get them on the phone because I know they're driving for 4 hours.
Right.
And I'm sitting still, so I'll fill this thing out. You just talk. You just let me know. Still learning, still evolving.
Salford, of course, has grown exponentially with the acquisition of the other companies. What's next?
I think that growth model still exists. I think Salford's as a company is always looking for that next opportunity. My straight answer is I'm not real sure what is next. I wish I did know. I guess at this point in my life professionally, I feel like I have less of grip of that than I've ever had.
Right.
Or maybe it was an illusion that I had it back then.
Right.
But we will continue to bend up metal in the winter and go out in the field and bust it and try to break it. There's still places for us to go in tillage. There's a lot of room for us in application.
Yeah.
The application at the farm gate is a huge untapped business. There's so much growth that can be done there. We've got to continue to innovate. People are going to demand lower, more accurate rates, higher, more accurate rates, different products. I thought that there would be a time when I would have had that every single product that mankind could spread I had been asked about. But every year there's somebody that calls me and says, "Hey man, I got bug exoskeletons from China, and I want to spread them."
Right.
Honestly, man. And I'm like, oh wow.
How do we do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Send me a bag of it.
Right.
And we'll weigh it, and so it's flexibility, accuracy. What do you think about scale? Do the scale of things? Have they reached as big as they're going to be in terms of tools and?
They always want bigger.
Yeah.
Today we're looking at a 16-foot Magna spread. Well, you've got the 20 too, I guess. But you could always go bigger.
Always.
Yeah, and of course, as you go bigger, you do weed out some farmers, but there's always going to be those guys that a 50-foot tillage tool isn't big enough.
Yeah.
So, but then you look at some of these electric tractors and things kind of start to shrink. It's like, an electric tractor only has X horsepower, and if you don't have to drive it, why would you buy a 50-foot tool, right? Why not just buy a 30-foot tool and have it run all night while you sleep?
Yep.
So there is that factor that used to be, in my opinion, an illegitimate factor, but in 2022, being that you can drive a car without actually driving it electrically, I think it's a legitimate argument.
It is.
But man, they always want bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday we got a tank in our booth. It's 1,600 gallon. Yesterday, a guy comes up. I'd buy this today if it was 2,000. Oh man, And so we left the 1,200 gallon one at home.
Yeah.
Because we thought the 16 was big enough. So.
Oh, that's interesting, man.
Everything weighs more, and then you talk compaction and more money, and I don't know. I think we're at a great place because it offers things for the big guys and things for the small, but I think the market for the real big stuff is awfully small.
It is, man. I agree with that. And it's funny when there are scales that when you go from say 25 to 50 feet, it's not just a simple 2 times the money.
Right.
It's 3, 4, 5 times the money.
Right.
Because this has got to handle forces that are incredible. It's just going to be interesting to see who can innovate and who can bring who's skating where the puck is best.
Right.
And hopefully it's us. Pray and work toward that end. But it's exciting times, man, as we all get really get back to work. In the farm business, it's funny, man. We've been working.
Right.
Right. It's not we just sit at home.
Yeah.
We got out and got with it, so it's a little bit different for us. As the rest of the world kind of wakes up, we've just been working.
We have.
The whole time.
Yeah. Have not slowed down. With Salford, we get comments from guys all the time on their quality and everything. But how do you feel about Salford not being in a lot of mainstream dealerships? Sometimes the product may be hard to find, and for me as a dealer, that's a good thing.
Yep.
Because in Ohio, I can guarantee you they can find them at my place.
Yep.
But what do you think about their model of dealers?
Well, that's been an amazing thing to watch, because that landscape has changed dramatically. The number of stores hasn't really changed, but the number of companies has, I don't know, man, maybe it's 20-25% of what it was.
Right.
And what's been kind of interesting about that is watching the big dealer groups. They operate in some different ways, Adam, and you'll find really a couple of different models. You'll find a very authoritarian, micromanaged model that stays on the rails, and then you'll find a decentralized command component where the individual stores, there may be 50 stores, but the individual stores kind of have levity to make their own choices. It's certainly changed the landscape, and it's certainly changed the thing that you do. It's changed your distribution, and there is huge value in our products being at a company like Finnick. The focus that we get there, we probably would not get in a lot of other places. We have some big partnerships that are successful and some big partnerships that really bear no fruit.
Right.
So it varies a lot. It's not like it, and I've set out a couple of times to like write the prescription for a dealer so I would know what to look for, and you just can't. They vary so much. You have to take the market and the potential and this guy's potential. I think in a lot of ways, a lot of what we manufacture is going to fit better in a smaller, more flexible, focused shop. And some things that we're doing are aimed toward, the bigger market. Adam, I just want it all.
Yeah.
I want 100% of everything.
Right.
So, and you can't get that, but it's a worthy goal. It's a mix right now, and it's an interesting time in distribution. In a lot of ways, there would be places where we would probably not be represented.
Right.
If there wasn't a variety of companies.
Yeah.
And frankly, you both know this. Our products take focus.
Yeah.
It's not for the weak-knee sales guy, Mr. Price Man. He
Right.
is never going to be successful
Yeah.
with Salford products.
Right.
It takes training, knowledge, and focus because they're not like other things. They
Right.
have features and benefits that have to be sold.
Yeah.
And as long as that's true, we will have to have distribution points that play the game that way.
Right.
And that varies a lot in farm equipment dealerships.
Yeah. Yeah. There's all shapes and sizes and buyouts and.
Yep.
I say it all the time, but Salford is our John Deere combine.
Yeah.
It's our number one.
Absolutely.
It's interesting though too. It's also a niche product in a way.
It is.
It
is. A lot of it
not
is.
for everyone. So it's different for us, but I can tell you, it's the flag we fly high.
Yes,
and
we definitely do.
It's fun to have a product like that and a backing and a support.
Well, like I told you, man, you send me a lock of your dad's hair and I'll make a few more of him and we'll get this thing going, man.
Yeah.
We'll clone him up one time and spread him out around the country and see what happens, man. It'll be dynamic for sure.
Yeah.
It's an important part of, you guys are a very important part of our business and a very important relationship, both personally and professionally for us.
Oh, we appreciate that. Right now, time frames with Salford are of course they stretch out during the busy time. Are you guys looking to cut that down, or is that something that you almost like because you don't want to overscale your production?
Right.
What's that like?
Wow, that's a little bit out of my league, but I can share with you my opinion and a quick piece of experience. One of the greatest things, at the time you don't know what is and what isn't until you live through it. One of the things that grew that spreader business the most was having long lead times at certain parts of the year.
Yep.
Because what we needed was to flatten production out.
Yep.
So I said, Richard, let's just let it soar. And then this summer, I'm going to go out and start preaching to the choir. You see, the problem is that you can't call me on January 1st and get one. I'm never going to create a situation where you can.
Yeah.
If I have, then they need to fire me and find somebody else.
Right.
We're supposed to be booked up.
Right.
Therefore, what you should do is order some product.
Right.
Like your dad does.
Right.
He orders truckloads of stuff in off times, and you know, part of the legacy of Finnig is intelligence, knowledge, and inventory.
Yeah.
You know,
Inventory's
so
right there.
That what I'm getting at is those lead times help me to sell preparation. So that's kind of important.
Yeah.
And if we don't have a lead time, I'm going to work to make us have a lead time.
Right.
And it also, you know, farm manufacturing, getting a plant to be able to operate at the same level 12 months out of the year is actually a very, very, very big deal.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started, we would have to lay off half of our force in the summer months. And I remember sitting in the office and picking up the phone just to see if we still had a dial tone. It's been 5 days since I talked to anybody. Wow. So, you know, from the inside looking out, I love lead times, but I don't want them to get, you know, I don't want them to get crazy.
Right.
You know, 52 weeks.
Yeah.
Something silly like that, man. So yeah, I've used them as a positive sales tool, and the network's better for it. If that makes any sense from my perspective. For you, it's a different side of the fence you look from.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. For us, the lead times help us. Like you said, when you're carrying inventory and you've got a 20-week lead time on that product, here it is, boys.
Yep.
The first one to it wins.
Yeah,
you're
the only game in town.
Right. So the inventory's king for us, and lead times, they do help us. And you're right, it does sell preparation.
Yeah.
And that's a good explanation for it. And it's great to be full.
Yeah. Yeah, it is fantastic having lived through some serious not full times.
Right.
You know, this is the pain I would rather have.
Right. Yes, you can either be full or you can be slow. Yeah.
And you know, and it's a challenge right now. Labor's tight, materials are tight, so it's a challenge to keep the right talent, you know, in place to keep those lead times down from a manufacturing point, and to push them up as a sales guy. It's kind of like it's a little tug of war between us. And you know, and I tell my guys, I used to spend a lot of time worrying about other people's business, going back in the plant and blah 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 blah. I don't. Y'all handle that. I'm gonna fill this plant up. And I don't want to hear no griping, because you ain't gonna hear no griping out of me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my job, give me good product, and I stay out of their space, you know, and I demand that they stay out of my space, and we're healthier for that.
Oh yeah. One last thing I want to touch on. At the end of the day, you're going to leave here maybe a little bit early and fire up a grill, from what I'm told.
Indeed, I am.
Let's talk about what in the heck you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you touched on a boat, but didn't you end up fixing up a boat at some point?
Yes.
And a boat hits water and a fishing pole is in the hand. We got to touch on that about lead.
All right. Let's talk about what I do for probably 15 years. I guess it was probably 5 or 6 that I didn't, but basically I feed all my guys every evening. And I try to find, for example, I had a 5-pound piece of tuna, beautiful piece of fish that we sliced up. I brought 6 pounds of fresh shrimp from my part of the world. I went and found some good steaks. So I plan out my meals. I have a giant cutting board. I have a basket full of knives and everything that I need. And for the most part, when I travel, I eat like that too. I'm pretty particular about what I put in my body. I try to be. So I cook for them. Tonight we're doing shrimp kebabs with some mushrooms and some bell pepper and some onion, and just simple butter and garlic based, and just eat as much shrimp as we can get. I live down on the Georgia coast in a town called Darien. I have been traveling down there. It was about 6 hours from where I raised my family. I've been going down there fishing for a long time. And one day, I don't know, 4 years ago, my wife came home. She said, "What are we waiting for?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Let's go. Let's get out of Atlanta. Let's go get on the coast." So, yeah, we moved to the coast. We bought a 29-foot Wellcraft small express boat, cabin, kitchen, all that stuff, and it was really a piece of junk. And we spent 2 years, and you learn, man. I'm dumb as a rock, so I made a lot of mistakes, but you learn and put that boat together, and it's fantastic. It is 4 blocks south of my house in the water. So we enjoy that a lot. I love to fish, and my wife loves to sit in the sun. So that's what we do. So I did end up owning the boat that I had dreamed about. I was able to pay for my children's college. So, it all comes full circle. It's like, waiting for the right time. I'm not a wise person. I'm prone to make some bad financial decisions, as you can obviously tell from our conversation. But that has the patience and the mentoring. I can't say enough about that. So yeah, I love to cook for my guys, and I try to do it every year. We'll have between 6 and 10 people at dinner every night.
Nice.
And nobody has to drive. Nobody has to wait on a table. Right. Nobody has to wait on a drink. It's all there. So I appreciate that, man. That's
awesome.
My personal fun.
I heard about that and I was like, wow, that is cool. Like that is cool.
Been doing that a long time, it's and I pretty much feed them the same thing every year, Adams. It's a year, so they forget, whether it was good or bad or whatever.
Right.
Just try to keep it simple and have fun. So that's you got to do things. If you travel and you sell, you got to do things out of the ordinary. If you get close to the world's largest ball of string, go see it.
Right.
Take advantage of that. For years for me, Adam, it was I had my favorite restaurants. Then I got fat. Seriously, man, got like 250, and I'm like, okay, this is not 30-year-old Lee. That was fine, but 50-year-old Lee's gonna blow up and diabetes out of here if he keeps this up. So that was my food revelation, man.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think that's all I've got.
No,
I appreciate your time.
So much, man.
Yeah, I
it's
told
an honor.
Cody on our way over, I said this was going to be fun.
Oh, man.
This is going to be fun.
It's quite an honor. You're a couple of fantastic young men. I look forward to some great things. And I'm really honored that you would come talk to me, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was great. Cody and I were lining up. I was like, we got to talk to Lee.
Because he will talk.
Well, you talk about the people that you only see once a year. It's actually, I think, twice for you.
Yep.
Farm Science Review and Louisville Show.
That's right.
So I appreciate you coming on. Great content, and we'll have you on here again. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get back to the show, guys. Sounds like the crowd's coming in. It's time to show them some product.
Yeah, time to sell.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yep, we'll see you guys.